Hi, this is a short and totally unprepared presentation from TAC regarding the career path related to software engineering. I'm making this presentation for a few purposes, but whoever finds this useful, please go ahead and use it. But keep in mind that this is nothing more than just my personal opinion, and I'm showing some support for my opinions, as you can see on my web pages here. So where should we start? Well, instead of starting with the jobs, I'm going to start with personalities. So this is a personality assessment website called 16personalities.com. To take the test is free. To get the basic result is also free. So I think it is a usable resource for people to assess their own personality types. So with 16 personalities, it uses the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator or MBTI, and it breaks personality types into 16 basically groups. So within the analyst group, we have the INTJ, INTP, ENTJ, and ENTP. Within the diplomats, we have the INFJ, INFP, ENFJ, and ENFP, and so on. So the reason why personality types is, I think, important is because the result of taking these tests, they will show at least preferences. It doesn't really show or correlates to directly to the strengths and weaknesses of people, but it does show preferences. So I'm going to show you an example of what I mean by that. So I'll just go ahead and pick INTP because I am an INTP. So within the INTP personality type, you will see that they assess or they would talk about the strength and weaknesses, and as far as this context is concerned, it would also talk about career paths, as well as workplace habits, and those are all the things that are uh, kind of important, when we try to tell our students what would be their best paths or what they should consider. So the career paths for INTP is a little bit awkward because it starts with a statement like this. Logicians are solitary, eccentric, and independent, none of which is listed as desirable for corporate positions. So, so there we go. So right off the bat, it says, you are probably not going to like in these blah 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 environments. So this is a good starting point, and then from here, I want to move on to another spreadsheet. I mean, another. Oh, this is a PDF. It talks about human factor in software engineering, and you can see here. Okay, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. So it talks about MBTI and how that correlates to the occupation of software engineering, and it talks about how each letter may or may not apply. Like E and I is the first letter of MBTI, and S and N is the second, and so on. So it shows the frequency of what type of people, or what is the percentage of each type in this one is just the U.S. adult population. So in U.S. adult population, combining both genders, you can see that INTP is right here, 3.3%. Not quite the rarest, because there are three types that are even more rare, like INFJ is only 1.5%, INTJ is only 2.1%, ENTP is 3.2%, ENTJs are 1.8%, ENFJs are 2.5%. So those are all the even more rare personalities compared to INTP. But at the same time, you also have personality types that are more common, such as ISTJ, which is about 12%, and ISFJ, which is about 14%. So this is just for US adult population in general. And then when you scroll down a little bit more, it shows the result. And these are applicable to software engineering. So when you look at the table title, type distribution of software engineers, comparison to an adult population sample. So you can see that, so the pluses are, let's see, the pluses are, 1%, and let's see. All right, so right here you can see that INTP, even though in the general population they only comprise of about 3%, within the population of software engineers, 10% of software engineers are INTPs. So that means they are overrepresented by close to 300 by 300%. On the other hand, for ISFJs, even though in population they are about, I cannot remember, about 14%, I think, but within software engineers, they only comprise about 3%, so they are way underrepresented here. ISTJs are also overrepresented by about 200%. INTJs are way overrepresented because I think in population they are only about 2.5%. So they are 400% overrepresented in software engineers. Okay, yeah, there we go. The I is the selection ratio index, basically how over or underrepresented they are. You can see INFPs, are 0%. So within the sample that they have chosen to used for this research, INFPs are not represented at all, which I find kind of interesting because I have met quite a few INFPs who can make quite useful and effective software engineers. So there's this research, okay, so there's a correlation between career paths and MBTI. I think that correlation is there. Now, whether it's a causal relationship or just a regular correlation, that I do not know, and I'm not qualified to answer that question. So now that we got, what the nature of people, and also, how well that nature lend itself to software engineering, then we can move on to other stuff, such as when you go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they publish, a lot of information, such as Occupational Outlook Handbook. So this handbook will give you a lot of information across multiple occupational groups. So we are interested in computer and information technology, so we go here. And then within here, there are many different types of occupations. We have, the kind of super nerdy and geeky computer and information research scientists. There are not really a lot of these people or jobs. So for the most part, they are not, super applicable to our discussion. So when we move down the list to software developer, web developer, and let's see, they have computer programmers, but they don't have a software engineer group here. But that's okay. Computer programmers are pretty close to software engineers and as are software developers. So I think it's just a shift of title, that people do not refer to those people as software engineers anymore. So nowadays, they're called software developers. So let's click on this one. And it shows the median pay in 2018 is $105,590 per year. The requirement is a bachelor's degree, okay, typical entry level, okay, which doesn't mean that some people cannot get into this job without a bachelor's degree. And I know a few students like that who were able to become software developers without a bachelor's degree or even an AA or AS. So this is really vital information, okay, because it's all summarized here. And the best part is, in terms of job outlook, from 2018 to 2028, we are looking at a anticipated growth of 21%, which is classified as much faster than average. So that is really encouraging. So let's go back and look at something that does not see such an increase. Okay, so we'll go to computer programmers. So this is computer programmers. Okay, in terms of pay, they're a little bit lower, but not really by that much. But when you look at job outlook, it doesn't look too good because from 2018 to 2028, the anticipation is there will be a 7% decline over those years. So, so this gives people a sense of, okay, now I know who I am, what my strengths are using the MBTI assessment tool. We go to the frequency chart, okay, over here to basically, I would take it with a grain of salt, but nonetheless, if somebody is, let me pick a really extreme example here. Okay. Um, so let's say somebody is an INTJ, okay, and that person says, "Well, yeah, computer science, does interest me, and but I'm not sure whether I should go in that direction." According to this table, yeah, totally. I mean, according to this table, INTJs are overrepresented at 485%, in software engineering. So yeah, so that seems to be a likely thing. And then we move on to, okay, let me just go back to software developers here. And that person may ask, okay, now that I know what my strengths are, I know, I'm probably suitable as a software engineer. But is that a good occupation to get into? Will I get into a situation where there are no jobs waiting for me after I graduate? Well, according to this document, there are lots of jobs available. From 2018 to 2028, there is an increase of 21%. So everything is looking good. Okay. So now the question is, what are the subcategories of those jobs? Well, that's why we go to hired.com, okay, where it can go to jobs, career paths by role, and then we go to software engineering career paths, and then it shows a lot of subcategories of software engineers. In terms of web stuff, we got full stack. In terms of gaming, we got gaming engineer. We got even blockchain. Backend refers to database stuff, and also server stuff. We got machine learning engineer. Okay, so let's pick something that is like super duper hot right now. We go to machine learning engineer, and it gives you a full document. Okay, well, I wouldn't say it's really full, but if you click more, you get more of it. Um, so it shows how people can get into careers like that, but that's usually after they get a degree in computer science, and it's going into the workforce. But nonetheless, I think this is still a really good website and a good resource for people who are just starting out and just want to have a roadmap of what is ahead of them. Another really good resource is the goodoldmonster.com. Okay, so in goodoldmonster.com, you can search by career type, like software engineer, and also location. So now we have a list of jobs related to that, that are at least posted within in Monster. You can see that, well, location wise, most of these are not in Sacramento. Um, and we didn't find any job matching your criteria. Okay, so Sacramento doesn't have any software engineer job, so we'll look for software developer. And usually sometimes we can also look for just developer, and nothing. Okay, how about just developer? Search, and nothing. So I'm guessing they don't have a lot of job posting, within Sacramento. That's my guess. Or maybe I just didn't click search again. Oh yeah, I just did not click search again. Or I thought I did. Okay. So anyway, this is also a great resource for people who want to look into, okay, so I know what software engineers do in general, but I want to do something more specific. I want to know more about specific types of jobs and how will they pay. Are those jobs around in Sacramento? So now we can actually look at these jobs and go like, well, senior jobs, probably not for our students. staff, software developer, and so on. So, this is a good resource for that. All right, so let's see. Let's take a step back and just kind of go back on what we have explored so far. So what we have explored so far is assessment of personality types. Okay, we use MBTI for that. We look at the frequency table for software engineers, and so someone can use it as just take it as a grain of salt. Like, okay, is this potentially a good match for me? Yes, it is. Okay, good. Then we go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and then we look at the job outlook. Okay, is by the time I graduate after 4 years, okay, or a little bit more, will there be jobs for me? Yep, that seems pretty likely. And then we go to hired.com as well as monster.com to assess what kind of jobs do we have available at least today, and how do I get in hired.com they also show a pathway to get there. Okay, and we are talking about a pathway that is well beyond a 2-year community college that um, we help to contribute. But a student need to take a longer look at the trajectory to find out, okay, beyond the 2 years at a community college, what else do I need to do in the next 4 years, 6 years, and so on. Okay, so let's just say that everything is looking good. Okay, so now what do we do? So we look into the computer science, information science department, and we check out the programs. Okay, so we check out certificates and degrees over here, and the only one that actually match is not computer programming. Okay, because that one does not transfer. So we want to look into the transfer degree, which is just the computer science degree, and these are the classes that our students need to take in order to transfer to most universities. Okay, so I said most because depending on which university, assist.org will generate a report of a varying degree of acceptance of our courses. Okay, but if everything goes in the way of the AST, or Associate of Science Transferable, then hopefully we'll get to this part here, okay, because all of our classes at ARC are already revised to comply with the CID transfer model. So ARC is one of the few campuses in the district where all of our classes are already updated for CID transfer purposes. Unfortunately, because of unit count issues that I cannot resolve yet, we do not have an AST at this point, so we still have to rely on assist.org to help students understand, okay, if you take this class at ARC, it is considered equivalent to that class over at, let's say, UC Davis, and so on. So this kind of concludes my unplanned short presentation of how we can potentially help our students and guide them through the process of selecting computer science as a major, and also to show them a much larger picture of, well, once you're done here at ARC, where do you go next? Okay, after that, how do you get to the job that you want to do, and so on. So I hope this helps a little bit. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Let me type my email address here, just so that after you watch this just so that after you watch this video, you can contact me if you have any questions. So my email address is my last name plus first initial at arc.losrios.edu. And if you want to call me, my number is 916-484-8250. But email is probably the best way to contact me, or you can just come visit me. Right now, at this point, I'm still at CMC, and the room number is 404, and I'm in cubicle C. So that's another way to come find me. So this concludes my little short presentation, and I apologize for all the ahs, and all the unpreparedness of this presentation, but I hope it is still useful. And also, don't forget, this is all my personal opinion. So take it with a grain of salt. Thank you for watching.